Well, good afternoon and welcome. And thank you for coming to the China 100 Symposium on this beautiful spring day. And my name is Su Ye, and I'm the chief economist for the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. I'm also the China trade representative for the state of Minnesota. And I help Minnesota companies export ag and food products to China and worldwide. In China, we say, 民以食为天. Food is a safe haven for people. And hunger breeds discontent. I think this is especially true for China, the most populous nation in the world. China has very limited arable land and actually is ever decreasing and growing population. And today, our panel is global agriculture and food safety. So we are going to talk about some important topics on food supply and food chain. We all know, talking about the demand for food from China. You heard about the Three Gorges Dam project, which flooded vast areas of fertile agricultural land. And the new roads, freeways, high-speed rail lines, they are eating up more cropland. Plus, the rapid urban expansion is taking more and bigger chunks of land out of production every day. And this will continue in China for a long time to come. I use this as a joke. Well, soon, in the not-so-distant future, it's standing room only over there. Anyway, I hope it will not get to that point. Well, anyway, today we have three panelists here, including myself. And I'll be the first one to go. And my presentation is on U.S. agricultural and food export to China and the strengths of Minnesota agricultural industry. This first slide, I want to show it, is actually the two maps kind of stacked on top of each other. U.S. and China, the land area is about the same. I'm sorry, I couldn't squeeze in Alaska in there, but in terms of land area, U.S. is just a tiny bit bigger than China. China has about 11% arable land. In the U.S., we have almost 20%. Actually, a lot of our land we put aside not for production. If we want to, we can put more land to grow crops. And China is our number one agricultural and food market. That's for U.S. and Minnesota agricultural exports. And two pie chart, the left one, 1/5 of our total exports, ag and food exports, go to China. And you can tell that our top markets right there. 6 years ago, China was number 4, so it moved up the rank in a great hurry. And the potential is still there. And when you look at our export, China, the growth really surpassed every other country. I mean, I'm talking about major markets. We do have smaller markets, like Vietnam is growing fast, but however, the size of Vietnam, it can grow really fast, but the size of the China market will always be on the top. And the chart to the right is what we export. You can see soybeans is half of our total egg and food exports, soybeans. And then you go down, there's meat, corn, feed, poultry, processed food, dairy, wheat. Okay, what are the fastest growing export products to China? Soybeans, corn, feed, and pork, beef, dairy. Those are our top Minnesota egg products. So we are in a very good position to supply the Chinese consumers what we produce in Minnesota. We are a very, very efficient agricultural producer. Now, this shows the trend of U.S. food and agricultural exports to China. From 2000 to 2013, 900% growth. In terms of Minnesota to the world, the Minnesota egg export to the world, the growth is about 270%. So China's growth really, surpassed the average, our average total export growth. And also Minnesota, we are a small state. We rank 21st in terms of population. We are the number 5th top agricultural producer in the nation. As long as I'm talking about the strengths of Minnesota agriculture, I will throw out some more numbers. We are the top 5th agricultural producer, top 4 agricultural exporter. Our crop production is top 5. Our livestock production is top 7. Our major crops, corn, soybeans, sugar beets, wheat, hay, potatoes, and livestock, hogs, dairy, beef, and poultry. Actually, Minnesota ranks among top 10 of more than 20 agricultural products. And it is a bright star in the state economy, agricultural industry in the state. And this shows the agricultural marketing. This is not export. This is agricultural production. What we produce and the growth since 2000. The yellow part is the crop production, and the blue is livestock. 64% of our agricultural production is crops, and the rest is livestock. But I want to mention that in the 80s, 70% of Minnesota's agricultural production is livestock. It changed, it reversed. The reasons for that, crops prices were rising and feed prices are higher. And I think the livestock, and also there are all kinds of issues, environmental issues, and the new rules, and the water and land. The new rules on the environmental protection somehow affected our livestock production. Now this is a little busy, but anyway, I want to show the left bar chart shows agriculture and food is our state's #1 export item. And you can see is double the second one, machinery export. And then go on to the medical devices and electronic machinery, means computers and such, and and so on and so forth. So it is our number one export industry. And then the chart to the right is our total agricultural export growth. Well, this chart, if you compare to the growth of our export to China, I mean, this is a kind of a slower, well, it's still very, rapid growth, but our export to China is almost like a straight line up. And so that's Minnesota's role in helping China, in helping feed such a large a nation. I just want to give out another number. Every Minnesota farmer feed about 136 people in the U.S. and world. And about 32 of those people are in China. So that's every Minnesota farmer. That's the kind of contribution we make. Thank you so much. And I'm going to introduce our next speaker, Professor Frank Busta. Professor Busta is a director Emeritus of the National Center for Food Protection and Defense based at the University of Minnesota. Dr. Bousta has taught, conducted research, and consulted internationally in food safety and microbiology with emphasis on spore-forming bacteria, foodborne pathogens, and recently international contamination. He has been chair of the Food Forum of the Institute of Medicine in the National Academies since 2011. He is a fellow of the Institute of Food Technologies, the American Academy of Microbiology, the American Association for the Advancement of Science, the Institute of Food Science and Technology, and the Academy of the International Union of Food Science and Technology. Let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Busta.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about our center and a recent memorandum of understanding that we signed last July. This gives you a very recent activity after you earlier experienced 100 years of what's going on with China. We're expressing here one of the very recent activities that we have. I send the greetings from our director, Amy Kircher, who is teaching this afternoon. Otherwise, she would be here with you at that time of the academic semester where you don't skip classes. Our center is focused on intentional contamination. And so on the very bottom, you see our vision, or our theme that we've had for the last 10 years of our existence, and it's defending the safety of the food system through research and education, and that's what we go by. We are a center of excellence in the Department of Homeland Security. We have, for a long time, considered the large cheeseburger as an excellent example of the complexity of the supply chain that we have in our food system. Because we had a limited number of slides, I couldn't show you the whole cheeseburger supply chain. But if you consider what goes into a cheeseburger, including the bun and the tomatoes and the ground beef and the special sauce and ketchup and mustard and spices, etc., and then you start thinking about the supply chain of each one of those ingredients and getting them to the quick service, food service operation. And then you consider the supply chains of the individual ingredients that go into the components that go into the cheeseburger. You can see the complexity. And here on this PowerPoint is just a series of ingredients in a few of those items. The list of ingredients that go into the bun, the list of ingredients that are in processed cheese, even the list of ingredients in the cucumber pickles. These are some examples of what goes in. There's a total of about 80 different ingredients in a Big Mac or its equivalent in other organizations. Each one of those 80 ingredients has a supply chain, a very complex supply chain. And there are vulnerabilities in those supply chains to intentional contamination, intentional adulteration. I get so excited I gotta watch my time. The intentional adulteration or contamination can be done by terrorists. We haven't had any yet. It's a concern. By disgruntled employees, or by just basically greedy individuals in a company that for economic gain want to do something to your product. And we've been doing a lot of that recently, and that's one of the special links with China because they've had a great amount of that kind of intentional contamination. This is just the documented, economically motivated adulteration events. So each one of these products has, and this is worldwide, because our supply chain is worldwide, it's global. These are a list of the products that have been economically adulterated, have been diluted, substitutes have been put in, other things have been put in. And one of the most egregious examples was the melamine in China, where we had 3 million infants and children affected, 6 deaths, and it got to pet food in this country. That's an example of economically motivated adulteration where someone put in a product to make that product look like it had more protein, and it was toxic. And consequently, a great deal of problems occurred. So in our center of looking at intentional contamination, whether it's being done to harm someone in a public health or being done merely to make extra money, it's an area that we research. And if you look at these, there's a lot of these are going on. And I'd love to tell you all kinds of examples, but then you'd never trust anything, would you? Now, what I'm here to tell you about is our most recent memorandum of understanding with the Chinese Academy of Inspection and Quarantine. This was in last July, and as you see, with our global supply chain, with our interactions with China, what we ship to them and what they ship to us, with the general global activity, we have a great deal of things to work on in common with the Academy. We hope to have continuous connections. Scientist exchange is an obvious relationship on the Memorandum of Understanding. We're looking at a tri-country seminar between Canada, the U.S., and China. We want to do other research seminars, but of course they can get our webinars year-round because they know us now and they can follow that. We will have some additional trips. They came to visit us, and there will be hopefully some collaborative projects. Now, just one moment for my special event at that signing of a memorandum of agreement. Our director, Amy Kircher, is the one who signed the agreement with the president of the university. But the individual on the left is Director General Lee, And after the signing of the memorandum of agreement, I had a tie on that was a list of snacks. There was a little row of snacks with the calories underneath it, and another row of snacks, peanuts and popcorn and that kind of thing. And through the interpreter, or one of the colleagues, his colleagues that spoke English, he wanted to know where he could buy a tie like that. It was a neat tie. And so I thought, I just took my tie off and said, my gift to you, because I have no idea where he could buy the tie. And my gift to you was a tie. Now, he couldn't let me do that without him. So he took his tie off, and he gave me his tie. And it is a beauty. You know, I did a lot better than he did on that. And so on the left, you see us without ties when we're exchanging them. There was nothing very formal about this. And on the right, he has my tie on and tied. He tied his tie very easily without a mirror. I didn't do a very good job on the other side. But if you could, this is a really special tie. This is from his university.
Tsinghua.
From Tsinghua, which is a good university.
Best.
The best university. So I did very well on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll let you advance it.
Our next presenter is Dr. Frank Liu. Dr. Liu works in the veterinary diagnostic laboratory and veterinary population medicine as program director. He received his MS from China Agricultural University, PhD from the University of Georgia, and MBA from the U of M Carlson School of Management. He has years of research and international project management experience and also consults for food animal producers in China. Dr. Liu is actively involved in leading and managing China-related veterinary educational programs and events. He currently serves on the China Center Advisory Council. Welcome, Dr. Liu.
Thank you for the introduction, Xu. And first, I'd like to congratulate China Center on putting together this event celebrating China 100. I think it's really a milestone for the center as well as for the university in its long history in collaborating with the Chinese partners. So my topics today is try to share with you of some of the activities we have in the College of Veterinary Medicine with the Chinese partners. So before doing that, I think it's necessary for me to give you a brief introduction about the differences between U.S. and China in education and in veterinary education and veterinary service. So on this slide, you can see in China, normally it takes 4 to 5 years, normally 4 years. Only a few universities require 5 years for veterinary degree. So after 5 years, mostly, those students graduate with a veterinary degree, then they will go mostly to work for farms. So that's not considered as a glory job. At least at my time, not many students are interested in studying veterinary science. So even today, those students, they don't like going to farms. They mostly like to go working with those pharmaceutical companies, universities. So I don't like going to the farm to feed pigs, inject pigs. So that's what normally they said. So in the U.S., we can see, there is different path. So the student, in order to be admitted to a veterinary college, they need to go to a very good 4-year college study with at least a 3.5 GPA. Then after that, they need to go into a 4 years DVM program. Then after DVM, most college require they have volunteer experience, then another 2 years residence, and then have to pass North American veterinary exam, license exam. So after all this painful process, they become a professional veterinarian. So they will work for farms, for animal hospitals, and they will practice in veterinary clinics, and also they work in the science, university, diagnostic research. So you can tell the differences between the two educational systems in veterinary medicine. So because of this difference, so here it generates a gap which you can see on the slide, the veterinary service. In China, there is there's a missing point, I put this way, missing point or a weak point, in between the animal production and the science. So if there is a break of disease, the farmers, the producers don't know where to find a quality veterinarian and doesn't know where to send samples so they can get very reliable result. And they don't know, even though with this result, they don't know how to use this data to, apply that in the production to solve problems. So because of this gap, here comes the challenge. The challenge for the Chinese food animal production. The industry is booming. So per capita in China, the consumption of pork is about, right now, it's about 40 kilograms. So 20 years ago, probably it's 10 or, at most 20 kilograms. In the US here, we consume about the same amount of pork per capita. But in addition, we consume 100 pounds of beef each year per capita. So that means there's a big market in China, big room to grow, in animal production industry. So the challenge we're facing now is because of this gap, so people, the producers cannot find reliable services. So here, also they produce about 700 million pigs in China. Unfortunately, some of the pigs go, into the river. They don't swim in the river, they float in the river. I think that was March 2013. We saw a lot of dead pigs in Huangpu River in Shanghai. So there's many explanations, for that. But what we really want to see is that we want to see this quality pork and the delicious pork on our dining table. And last year, there was another event in the pork industry is that Shuanghui company in China bought Smithfield. So that's one step further. They tried to find solutions. And even though we still cannot stop the disease, this year in the US, we got this PED disease, porcine epidemic diarrhea, causing the, huge damage to the U.S. pork industry. So we'll see that this pork price will be higher this year. So we're already seeing it, I think. So seeing all this, I think our activities in, I'm missing a slide? Oh, here. Our activities in China is try to provide solutions to help farmers to solve their practical problems. The first thing we did in 2002, for the first time, we brought the Lehman China Conference into China. So Lehman Conference was a U.S. conference. We have been organizing this conference more than 20 years in St. Paul, Minnesota, every year in St. Paul. So gathering about over 100 people. So for the first time in 2012, we brought this conference into China with cautions. Beginning we planned it for 200 people because this is the first time we had this, event in China. We don't know what, would be, if people would be interested in that. And then with time goes, people get very excited about this event. The signing up for this conference jumped to 350. Then we have to stop at 400. And at the end, the conference draw about 600 people the first year. And the second year, the last year, we had this meeting again. There was over 1,000 people participating in this meeting. So one comment from the participants said, this is the best swine conference had been ever organized in the past decade in China. So the reason is that we are providing with them, science-driven solutions, which really helping them to solve their practical problem. So this year, again, we are going to have this third Lehman China Swine Conference in Xi'an in October. And again, we are expecting, big attendance. So for the second activity we are planning to do this year is the China Dairy Conference. The dairy industry is booming, even though it's not as well developed as for the swine industry. But still, we can see there's a huge demand for dairy product in China. So the melamine incident Dr. Busta just mentioned is really alarming, So just a couple of weeks back, I saw a news that China has destroyed a truckload of dairy product imported from Australia. So the food safety is always an issue in the whole production chain. So, and we are going to have this dairy conference. The next one will be a telepathology program. We all know distance learning. Through this program, we try to do the distance teaching to train pathologists in China. Another one is IVCC. We call it International Veterinary Collaboration for China. Under this program, which was initiated by Zoetics. Zoetics was the name for Pfizer. They changed their name last year. Under this program, so the University of Kansas State University will accept 50 DVM students from China in the next 10 years, so which will be sponsored by the China Scholar Council. And after 1 year studying in Kansas State, this student will go to a different veterinary school in the U.S. We have accepted one student already in the College of Veterinary Medicine. And other service we are, working on is the training on the diagnostic service, training, try to tailoring the client's need in China to help them to solve these production problems. Okay, I saw this time is up. All right, this is the last slide. So these are some photos taken at Lehman China Swine Conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Liu, and I think we'll just open up for questions. Yes.
I mean this as a joke, but as a real question too. I heard on a BBC presentation yesterday that Mexican drug cartels are taking over lime, as in the fruit, the citrus fruit, limes. That's why limes in the Twin Cities are selling for upwards of $1.50 each. Now, is it possible that the cartels are going to inject any kind of drugs into these limes? Or is this a new thing with food security that the cartel is taking over citrus groves in Mexico?
I have no personal experience with cartels, either by their product or them personally. My first reaction is I don't think that they would contaminate at that price. They won't mess up their limes. They'll just sell them at a high price. I think that they are practicing legalization, not unlike the mafia did in the United States. I'm not sure that there are ulterior motives in that. They just see a high profit in a product that is scarce at the moment and are going to go with the high profit and use the coercion to take over the industry. I think the vulnerability of various products, import or domestic, lies in other areas, and we've got a number of research activities going on, trying to identify what the next potential problem will be, looking at the scarcity of products, looking at the prices going up, looking at the normal supply chains that exist, and then watching for changes in that activity. And one of the examples we use is that one of the Asian countries Thailand had major floods, and they lost a lot of their shrimp farming beds. And yet the shrimp export from Thailand did not change. And so consequently, that meant that there was shrimp being produced somewhere else, transshipped through Thailand, put with a Thailand label, and shipped out of Thailand. And so if something like that starts occurring, that in some of our programs and models would indicate that we should have an alert as the product might not be the normal quality, might be maneuvered, might be coming from a place that's using antibiotics and was rejected earlier, and we wouldn't suspect that from Thailand, that kind of suspicion. So we're doing a lot of work on trying to predict where a problem might come. Your concern over Lyme is not that different from our concern. I just personally think that they might work with lime juice rather than limes, because they could finagle that easier.
See a hand there?
What is China's position on GMOs for ag imports?
In general, it is not allowed, GMO, except soybeans. Because you saw my chart that we have so much soybeans going to China, and actually the Chinese soybean industry cannot support that the consumption. And however, it goes both ways. Because of the Chinese soybeans, local soybeans are higher priced because they are non-GMO, and also they have a lower yield, and the quality issues. U.S. soybeans, higher quality, higher protein, higher oil, and we took over actually the Chinese soybean market, and the Chinese soybean industry had a lot of opposition about the monopoly of the U.S. beans, but for all other products, corn, you have to get the government approval. You have to submit the variety, the GMO variety, and the government will say, okay, we'll let it in or no. So that is, we have GMO corn going into China, but not very much. And last December, China kind of clamped down on U.S. corn export. They, for some reasons, all of a sudden stopped even though they allowed that in the same varieties, and they just stopped. I think, again, it's another political card. We did something because our fighter jet or flew over their sea territory. Remember that incident? There's always something if the U.S. government did something that irked the Chinese government, and they use trade, as in retaliation.
Can I add something?
Yes.
Okay. Right now, I think at least 70% of the U.S. soybean genetic modified, and for corn even a little bit less, but it's still a lot of percentage. In China, for the corn, GMO corn, recently they have turned to Brazil and finding multiple suppliers. Their strategy is not depending on one supplier. So that's not non-GMO corn is one, I would call it reason or excuse for stopping importing corn from the U.S. On the other hand, really looking for multiple suppliers.
I want to add a little. 2012, we had a drought, so the prices went rocket. China started looking for suppliers for soybeans. They went to Brazilian corn, Argentina, and even Eastern India. So they were sourcing cheaper product. However, then they run into problems because of the quality issues. Yes. Okay, we'll move our questions outside. That's. Thank you.